suit and tie and get your hair cut way up high. Get yourself a lawyer, son. You're gonna need a real good one.
We all need a real good one from time to time, and you have the best. David Whiting, Melbourne solicitor, is here to take your calls to offer some advice on legal challenges and problems. 1300 222 774 is our number. David, good morning.
Good morning.
Shall we start with homework first?
The homework one was a very simple one. It was Don from Altona. Don paid a deposit on a mobile home.
Changed his mind.
Changed his mind, and so the question was, can I have my deposit back? And then so the question was it a commercial vehicle? The person he was proposing to buy it from said it was a commercial vehicle, therefore Australian consumer law didn't apply, so go away. Answer is, I'm really very sorry, you assess the purpose for which the purchaser is to put it. So it seems to me that mobile homes are either sold to rent to people for holidays, or they're a person's residence. In this case, it was to be a residence, therefore commercial, therefore a consumer transaction, therefore Australian consumer law applies.
I just wonder why consumer law would not apply anyway if it was a commercial transaction.
Because
there's different laws for that.
Well, we consider that people who are end-user consumers are entitled to a greater degree of protection from the law.
Yes.
But the Australian consumer law is something like 400 pages.
So that means he has to go and brief a lawyer now.
Well, he can make his own application at
letter.
VCAT.
Okay.
So reasonably straightforward.
Yep.
Yep.
Good luck with that. A bill for an act to restrict the use of cash in transactions and for related purposes. A piece of federal legislation about to be considered. What's this about?
Well, it's more than considered. It's just about ready to go to the vote. Now, in the 2018-19 budget papers, they announced that there would be restrictions on cash transactions to improve the integrity of the tax system. Mm-hmm. At the end of August, this bill was entered into Parliament, but there's no press releases on the government side, no press releases on the opposition side saying we don't like it. Effectively, it will make it a crime to have a cash transaction worth more than $10,000. It will also make it a crime to divide up the transaction. So you walk into a store and you say, I'd like to buy the following equipment for my house. I want a television, a stereo, a fridge and a washing machine. And it all comes to $11,000. And if you say, well, I'm going to put $5,000 in today and $6,000 in tomorrow, both of you have committed an offence. Oh. The maximum penalty is 60 penalty units, which this week is $12,600. Both the seller and the buyer can be fined. Yep. And I would have thought there was a reasonably good argument that whatever you'd paid could be taken as the proceeds of crime.
Proceeds of crime. Well, what's this bill? What's the purpose of it? What's it intended to fix?
Well, they're endeavouring to fix what they think is the black economy, but there are whole sections of the community that operate in cash. Yeah. But they were looking at individual transactions. So if I was hiring, 1,000 labourers and I was paying them $10 each, then the answer was that wouldn't catch that transaction. But if I paid a labour hire company to engage them, then that would be caught by the transaction.
And if you pay your babysitter, $50,
that's okay. That's okay, unless you do it annually in advance, in which case you've got a problem.
Okay. Yep. What else is happening out there?
There's an interesting case that's reported on the ABC website today, and it's Johns against the Director General of the ACT Justice and Community Safety Directorate, and there was a prisoner in jail in the ACT where Johns is not the person's real name. He has been sent to prison under a name that isn't his own.
It's a John Doe.
The prison governor doesn't know quite what he's in there for. The case reports that the plaintiff, that is Mr. Johns, says he doesn't quite know what he's in there for.
What?
So there's a whole series of when one doesn't know how many of these there are. So he's
been convicted of something?
Yes, he's been convicted of something. We don't know what the charges relate to, but we do know that after his incarceration, he continued to be monitored by the Australian Federal Police, and he entered into a mental health program under which he was to write 3 manuscripts. He discussed it with the prison governor. The governor said, yes, okay. And the governor at the time also approved the dispatch of the manuscripts by email to his brother living in Melbourne. New governor comes along, has a look at the orders, and not sure about this, so I'll tell the feds. What do the feds do? The Australian Federal Police is they raid the brother's house in Melbourne. They they direct the governor to essentially hold the prisoner incommunicado for a few days, so no contact, and then go and raid his cell and take all copies of the manuscript. He tries to get an interview with an author, presumably about writing something that would come from the manuscript, and it disappears too. So I just wonder how many people there are, because there was a case.
That's incredible.
Well, there was a case reported a couple of years ago about a person who was called before the National Crime Authority, refused to participate fully in the interview, charged with contempt, dealt with under an alias, imprisoned under an alias.
I would like to know how many of these there are.
Well,
And I didn't know we lived in I suspected we lived in a secret state because I'm part of the Right to Know campaign, but there you go.
so
There's the evidence.
yes, I'm just waiting for the report to come off the website, so you won't be able to read it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, that'll be. The feds will raid us to strip that one off the website. Incredible. David Whiting is here to help you with legal inquiries. 1300 222 774. Andrew in the city. Good morning.
Good morning.
Andrew, go ahead and
David.
speak up.
Thanks for your time, David.
How can I help you, Andrew?
I had a house fire in my rented apartment over a year ago.
Are you a tenant or a landlord, Andrew?
I'm a tenant.
Yes.
And over a year ago, and the fire brigade came out, and it was a really minor fire from the kitchen fire.
Yes.
The fire brigade came out. It was already out before they came, but it set off the sprinklers,
Yes.
etc.
And I take it not just in your tenancy.
No, it was just in my tenancy.
No, the sprinklers.
The sprinklers just in your tenancy, was it? Or the whole
the
floor?
sprinklers went off in my level,
Okay, yes.
but everyone was evacuated.
Yep.
Then about 6 months later, the owners of the premises came and inspected the place after everything had been cleaned up.
Yep.
And they were absolutely fine. They were.
I'm going to get you to come to your point, Andrew.
Okay, but just 3 months ago, I got a letter from the body corporate saying that I owe them $38,000.
That's the call-out fee, Andrew.
It's a call-out fee.
Yeah, the general proposition is if there is when the fire brigade is called, the fire brigade charges a call-out fee. And it might also be that there might also be an owner's corporation fee relating to the rectification work done on the other units.
Okay.
But a call-out fee from the fireys is $38,000?
No, I think in the end Andrew said it was about $7,000, and my view would be if the sprinklers went off in every apartment, who's fixing the damage caused in each other apartment? Is that the issue?
The sprinklers went off in the hallways.
Okay, yep.
And I'm just worried, am I liable?
I wouldn't have thought so. I take it there was a real fire, you just happened to get it out after the sprinkler went.
Well, they in the letter, they somehow got this conclusion that I'd fallen asleep while I was cooking, which is completely malfeasant. I don't know where they got that information.
Andrew, it's a claim that they would need to they'd need to establish. So it's a claim in negligence that as a result of your negligence in whatever it was you were doing or not doing, you caused damage to the owner's corporation property. I would be interested to know what insurances they had and whether there was an insurance policy that the owner's corporation called on. I'd also want to know if there was a policy that the landlord could call on. So I would be looking there. The $38,000 presumably relates to the call-out fee and repair work required in common areas.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm assuming, yeah.
Yeah, my view is you would be liable for something, Andrew, but I can't see it being $38,000. But let me dwell on it for a week and I'll come back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right. Richard in East St Kilda, I think it is. Good morning.
Good morning to both of you. My question is about who is responsibility for the mess bats leave in their normal nocturnal activities.
Whereabouts?
It's at my mother's place in Northbourne. She has a very, very large gum tree.
Yes.
And bats have decided to feed off the flowering gum for the next month or so.
Yep.
And the neighbours are frustrated with the amount of time they're using to clean up the leaf litter and feces and stuff like that.
Yep. Falling in their backyards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So I'm wondering what Mum's responsibility on all that is.
None.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
Yep. I understand tree law really well.
Okay, excellent. But it's then we might call you in as an expert then, Richard. But there is your.
Does that fit on your business card? Sorry.
Yeah, amongst others.
Yes, of course.
Richard, your mum has no responsibility. Right? There, you might argue that if she had planted the tree for the purpose of attracting bats, there'd be some responsibility. But my guess is the tree was there before she was.
No, Mum planted the tree as newlywed, so it's got sentimental value.
I'm still of the view that it's not your mother's problem.
That's what I thought. But I thought I'd before we went back to the neighbours with a reasoned letter.
Yes, and the issue is that no doubt that they'll be making lots of mess at your mum's place too.
Yeah, they are.
Yes, not your mum's problem.
Good luck with the neighbours. Denise in Niora, good morning. Am I pronouncing your place of residence correctly?
Yes, you are. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Virginia and David. Yes, interesting case here. I bought a house with my husband 2 months ago.
Yes.
We had 3 inspections, and also we hired a building inspector to do an inspection. The vendors moved out on the Saturday. We moved in following on Monday.
Yes.
There was a very bad damp odour.
Yes.
On sort of further inspection, basically ripping up the carpet, all sorts of things like that, we have a huge fungus and mould infestation in 2 rooms, and maybe it might follow through to the hall or maybe the kitchen.
Yes.
Now, I believe one avenue is that a building inspector should have spotted this. Am I right, David?
Can I say I don't know. I've got familiarity with 2 cases that arose in fairly similar circumstances.
Okay.
One was a house where the plumbing was copper pipes, and you pressure test the copper pipes and nothing shows, but there's a pinhole leak in one of the pipes.
Yes.
And over a period of years, the space under the house got sodden.
Yes.
The other one was a more modern house, and there the plumbing was a plastic material, and the plastic deteriorated, and as a result, there was mould under the house.
Okay.
So I suppose my first question is: do you think that the mould existed before you bought the house?
Absolutely, David.
Okay.
The mould is horrific. Nearly all the particle board in bedroom 1, which was the first room I discovered it, is nearly totally covered in black mould. The underside of the particle board is black, but also covered in mycelium, which is hanging down about 5 centimetres.
Denise, can I suggest that you have a look at the Sale of Land Act at about sections Sale of Land Act, 1972, about sections 11 and 12. There's some discussion at the moment about a proposed amendment to those sections about what a vendor ought always reasonably require to tell a purchaser.
Right, that's what I'm interested in.
All right, so sections 11 and 12, the only case that's been reported on an equivalent section is in New South Wales. And in that particular case, the question was, should a vendor have told a purchaser that somebody had been murdered in the house that was selling?
Oh, right.
All right. Now, I'm not putting yours in quite the same class.
No, but
I would have thought if there was a significant mould issue.
Do they?
Well, it's there's a similar provision in New South Wales, and we've got Section 32, which says you've got to tell them these things, and that's a list of items following Section 32 of the Sale of Land Act. But there's another provision in the Sale of Land Act which would suggest that in certain circumstances you need to tell the purchaser more.
Right. Interest. Can I just say also, following on,
just quickly,
quickly, the real estate agent did say to myself and my husband that the vendors have previously restumped the interior of the house. They couldn't have possibly have restumped the rooms that we discovered the mould because
without noticing.
Exactly.
Denise, have a look.
It was clearly covered up.
Denise, have a look at those two sections.
Okay.
Legislation.vic.gov.au. Sale of Land Act 1972.
Denise,
Thank you
good luck
very
with
much
it.
indeed, David and Virginia.
Thank you. Good luck. Nothing worse than a house full of damp. It's my absolute horror. Stephen in Braybrook, good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
I've been off work now for over almost 10 months. I initially took time off work because I had a herniated disc, which didn't happen at work. It's something that's happened outside of work.
Yes.
I went to return to work after spending 2 months off, going through many rehab exercises and whatnot.
Yep.
When I returned to work, they said, no, you can't be here. Then they sort of...
Why can't you be here?
Well, they said they wouldn't... My doctor gave me clearance to return to work, and they said, look...
Was it an unqualified return, or was it light duties? What did the doctor say?
Light duties. I'm a plumber.
Yes.
Then they sort of wanted me to go back to the doctor with a bit of a list of my activities, saying what I could do, what I couldn't do.
Yes.
Then I returned and had another meeting. They said, this isn't good enough. We want you to be able to do 100% of your duties.
Yes.
Then they wanted a more lengthy report done by my doctor, which I went back to the doctor. He had a
lengthy report, yep.
A lengthy report, went back again. This isn't good enough. This time he said, this is 3 months on returning after the 2 months, so we've got to get into the 5 months now.
Yep.
So I had strengthened quite a lot, was ready to go back to work and completely do my work. They said, no, this isn't good enough. Then they wanted me and sent me to a medical examination to see if I was fit for duties, which I've only just done last week.
Yep.
And there'll be another meeting happening soon, I hope, with my employer. My question is are they right to actually do what they're doing? And
if I was an employer, I would be absolutely want to make sure that you were fit to return to work. Otherwise, in a fairly short period of time, there would be a fear that you would be... It's a manual job.
Yes.
Sure, but we already got a clearance from the doctor saying that he was free to go back.
But in a sense, that's from Steve's doctor, not from the employer's doctor.
Yeah, but this is getting a bit repetitive here.
Well, I would have thought so. My view would be if you're not satisfied with Dr. One, then go off and get a report. Exactly, they're doctor
shopping. They're trying to get the response they want.
Yes, which is I don't want you back, Steve, because I'm worried you might add to my work cover claims.
Yeah, that's right.
My view is you could probably go to the Fair Work Commission and seek the reinstatement. I would be waiting until what the report says, but that's certainly where I would be looking.
I'd be looking for another employer privately as well, frankly, Stephen. I mean, they don't want you back, do they?
You could say that, yeah. There could be other reasons, yeah. Okay, no worries, that's good.
Okay, thank you, Stephen.
Good luck with that. Rash in Mentone, where are you? There you are. Hi, Rash. Hello.
Thank you, Virginia, and thank you, David. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
I've got a question in regards to a landlord insurance. I've got an investment property, and the tenant stopped paying the rental. So when we took the landlord insurance, that was taken after they stopped paying the rent.
Yes.
So like after a fortnight.
Yep.
And now when we claim for the rental loss, which tenant didn't pay for 6 months.
Yep.
Obviously, that was rejected, which we understand that it was taken later on. We then after went through WeChat to evict this tenant from the property.
Yes.
However, tenant didn't go out till the time we had to call the cops. That was in the month of January.
Yes.
This year. Now, obviously, we were not covered under the rental losses, but vandalizing the property while they left, there was like a costing of about $3,500.
Yes.
Where they just ripped the walls and all those electric sockets and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I'm claiming for the property rentalized by tenant,
what's the question, Raz?
Yeah, we need to get to the question here.
Yeah, sure. So the question is that RACV is now saying that they will be deducting 4 weeks rental bond from the actual figure of property vandalised.
Rash, that depends entirely on what your product disclosure statement is, what the terms of your insurance policy are, and I would expect that there would be an adjustment required. It's in a sense, it will be at the kind of policy where there is an excess payable. So while it's not going to be an absolute guarantee to pay all of the rent for the disputed period, but there will be a price you pay and it may be related to the weeks of rent. So you have a look at the product disclosure statement and that will tell you why it is they're proposing to deduct some money from the bond.
Okay. Yeah, so David, on that one, the PDS says that 4 weeks rental bond minus the excess, which is $500. But they already know that tenant didn't pay for 6 months.
Yes.
So I understand that 500 we've already paid that excess, which is understandable.
Yes.
But the rental for 4 weeks, I believe that shouldn't be deducted considering the whole situation.
Can I say it doesn't sound like it, but you can put that at the insurance company, and if you're not happy with the outcome, you can go to VCAT. In the same way as you went to VCAT for the tenant, you can go with an insurance dispute to VCAT.
Rash, good luck with that one. We hope we've been helpful. Joe is in Ripponlea. Good morning, Joe.
Oh, good morning. Look, I just have a query. It's thank you for your help. It's lovely to hear you. It's in relation to negotiating a loan. I have a disability and I really struggle with what seems to be like a fight that is kind of ensuing. The fixed rate is about to expire, and because of the name of the package that I'm on, my current bank, even though it's offering existing people a lower rate than my existing fixed rate, they're saying I have to pay this much higher rate, which is about 16.5 higher.
Why do they say you have to pay that?
Just simply because of the name of the package, which
what package are we talking about?
Oh, it's just
no. In relation to what, like your disability package?
No, it's a fixed rate mortgage.
Oh, that package, right?
No, it was the name of the package before it was fixed for that period. But they're just saying that because it's simply that kind of package.
Why can't you refinance?
With the disability, it's just very, very stressful, and also all the discharge fees that happen for that.
Joe, how much is the loan?
It's about 46,000.
Okay, and it is secured against a property. It's a mortgage loan.
Yes, it is.
All right, and if the mortgage, the fixed period's coming to an end, there will be a fee that you pay for terminating the loan, and that will be $700 or $800?
Something like that,
and
which is a lot for me.
I understand that, but what's the application, what's the cost for refinancing? So if you go to another lender,
yes,
what fees are you going to pay?
I think it's a couple of hundred. They have to inspect the property.
No, I understand that, but
pay that fee.
I suppose the issue is,
I would like to stay where I am.
I understand that, but if you change your package, even with the same bank or the same lender, they are going to require redocumentation.
Okay.
All right? Or I'd be very surprised if they don't require redocumentation.
They actually haven't said that to me. They said that they're going to try and have a look at it and because it's such a huge difference.
Joe, are you for your disability? Are you getting? Do you have a package from the NDIA?
No, I'm on a pension.
You're on a pension, okay. I'm just wondering if there's a service out there that might be able to assist Joe.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, with getting these, because clearly the process of going through the documentation, David, is challenging and a bit stressful.
It's so overwhelming.
Joe,
you need somebody to talk to the Financial Services Ombudsman on your behalf. Right, there's a Financial Services Ombudsman. I have a problem with the bank. The problem I have with the bank is this. Is there a solution, please? And they will go, hopefully, all the way to resolving your issue.
Or maybe Joe could call Joe, do you feel able to call the ombudsperson yourself?
Look, I have been told that they're very toothless, that they really won't do very much.
David,
that's not my experience. I've had some real positives. I've had some disappointments. I think it's often an issue in the articulation of the complaint with the Financial Services Ombudsman.
Joe,
they've got to be able to grab the problem and understand it really quickly.
Yeah. Joe, do that if you can. Maybe get a friend to help if there's someone who feels less overwhelmed by this to walk you through it or to hold your hand through it. But
that's almost what I need as an advocate, someone who understands.
Do you have a friend who can help you?
No, I
family
don't
member?
really. Not. I've got other family members, but they're struggling with illness right now.
Right now, yeah. Joe, give the ombudsman a call. Deep breath. And just make that first call
and also
see if that's helpful.
And also talk to your counsel. So you're in Glen Eira. Quite often they have financial counsellors who can assist.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, all right. Someone mentioned the Consumer Action Law Centre. Is that something?
Yes, they are, but I'm not sure you're at that point because they're not going to litigate for you.
Yeah.
And at this stage, I don't. My preference would be I'd rather present with someone who is a facilitator rather than someone who is someone who enforces.
Okay, good luck and thanks for calling us today. I want to just very quickly, Paul, if I can. We really are over time, but I wanted to get to this call. Can you quickly outline your problem? Paul, are you there? In Geelong? Hello?
Hi, how you going?
Good. Paul, I need you to be really quick.
Yes, be really quick. Alienated father, child support debt. I've paid over the years, but I've always paid minimal because I never saw our daughter. Now, I have a CSA debt, and I'm coming into an inheritance from the sale of the family home.
Yes.
Can CSA garnish that?
Do you have arrears of child support?
Yes.
Then my view is that they can have a go at the arrears of child support, and the mother can make an application to the family court or the family circuit court for lump sum maintenance.
Okay.
All right?
All right. All right. So then I have to go through, the rest of it's just bullcrap. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
All right, thanks so much. Good luck. Don't be in arrears, and then they can't come and get you. David Whiting, we've got no business to deal with for next week.
Yes, we do.
Uh-oh.
Yes, we do. There were two. There's one is
the
fire. The mould, right?
Yep.
And the second one, it was the house fire in the apartment.
I didn't think you were taking that on. I thought you just shunted that off to our dear callers.
No, I want to have a look at that one. And there was Rachel from Mentone about the rental property and the PDS
indeed.
from the RACV.
Excellent. We shall deal with that next week. David Whiting, who takes your calls every Tuesday morning. Lovely to hear from you as well.